think we could be a bit more enthusiastic than that. I'm going to try this again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am William Floyd. I'm the Senior Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy here at Google, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here. Oh, sorry, the mic. Better? It's my pleasure to welcome you here to Google. Google is proud to serve as the first tech anchor partner for Future Ready NYC. In 2022, Google launched the Tech Opportunity Fund, a $4 million fund that was anchored on the belief that good-paying tech jobs should be within reach of all New Yorkers. To make this belief a reality requires investment, significant investment from the private sector, and a partnership with the New York City Public School System and CUNY. As a future-ready partner, we are committed to providing meaningful career-connected learning opportunities, such as career discovery programming, paid work-based internships, and mentorships with tech professionals. In addition, Google is offering its data analytics certificate to help students prepare for in-demand jobs in the tech field, as well as providing teacher training. We believe that these type of interventions, digital skill programming, et cetera, are essential for bridging the digital gap between computer scientists and all New Yorkers. I'd like to thank you again for joining us here today. And now I have the pleasure of introducing someone who really doesn't need any introduction. The only person who would make me put on a suit today, the 110th Mayor of the City of New York, Mayor Eric Adams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And just really thank you, Google. I think that out of all of the speakers today, I think Faye is the most significant speaker of today. That is my, I was telling Faye, that's my sister's name. You know, not my favorite sister, but that is my sister's name. I think Faye's story, and I'm sure that some of the other scholars that are here, is part of the story that you would miss if you don't really go below the surface of this arrangement that the Chancellor is talking about. At the heart of what we want to accomplish is exposure. Exposure is so important. You know, Faye, like my story, is from Brownsville. You know, never run, never will from a challenge. We're up for that challenge, and I'm interested in what some of the other scholars are from. But I guarantee you, they're coming from communities that historically you did not have access to the technology and the fast-moving pace, how not only our city is changing, but really how our country is changing. The way we are moving and how fast we are moving, by the time our scholars have the opportunity to be introduced to the ever-changing environment, they walk into a place and try to get employed, and then we ask the questions, why don't you have the skills? Because we did not build out the infrastructure and the pipeline for them to get the skills. And Google stepped up. They stated that we can't merely say year after year, why aren't we seeing a diversity at the tail end? Let's start building the diversity at the beginning process. And how do we do that? We do something that we historically never did before. We connected the chancellors. We have a vast system, you know, a vast system of, you know, and I remember Kathy Weil from the partnership talked about it. We had this unbelievable reservoir of talent in CUNY, and we've ignored that talent in CUNY. And the chancellors previously stated that once our children graduate, they fall off the cliff and try to figure it out on their own. But we brought two Chancellor Banks and Rodriguez that have stated, no, there should be a continuous pipeline. So when you add the pipeline of K through 12 with the pipeline of CUNY and our business community, you have the trifecta that allow you to be effective. And how do we start taking these young people and let them participate in the development of our city and solving problems in their communities? That's the beauty of it. Many of these graduates are not going on and leaving the Brownsvilles, the South Jamaica Queens, the South Bronx. They're coming back to these communities and say, I want to solve the problem in my community. I want to do environmental justice. I want to look at how do we better educate children? How do we become teachers? How do we learn how economic development can grow? How do we build down and use artificial intelligence to answer some of the questions that we're facing? This is an amazing opportunity that you're not going to really see the full understanding until you start to watch the flow of these young people. They've always had the fortitude and the attitude and the motivation and the dedication. They didn't have the opportunity. So coming from Brownsville and South Jamaica Queens, when you match the everyday ability to fight through what it takes to succeed, and you match it with the CUNY education, you can go from the mailroom to becoming the mayor. That's what it's about, Faye. That's what it's about. You know, and so that's what we are doing today. And I cannot thank the chancellors enough for seeing what we need to accomplish and to Google. William, we talked about this when I was campaigning. William met with me in the diner in Brooklyn, and we had a conversation I said, listen, I need Google. I'm tired of just searching with Google. I need Google to come and help us through this. And you committed to it, brother. You stated that we were going to do it, and here we are making it happen. 21st century economy. Real opportunities, given the skills. So today we're proud to announce a new historic partnership with Google, a leading, an industry leader, and everyone else needs to join us and follow what they're doing. We're building the pipelines of jobs in the tech sector, and Google will serve as our first tech anchor employer, partner with our schools' Future Ready New York City initiative. Future Ready New York City is a program that prioritizes students' career readiness. It will be in 100 schools across the 5 boroughs and serve around 7,000 students. We believe in preparing our young people to succeed. I'll never forget, we were talking about it yesterday, Chancellor. I was speaking to a group of superintendents. I put up a picture of the first telephone that Alexander Graham Bell did. And then I put up a picture of a classroom when they made that telephone. And then I put a picture up of the smartphone, and I put a picture of the classroom of the day. The classroom of the day is the same when they did Alexander Graham Bell telephone, but the phone has changed leaps and bounds. So we are preparing our teacher for the Alexander Graham Bell economy in some communities, and the economy has changed. That's what we're doing today. We're leaving the classroom of the Alexander Graham Bell era and moving into the smartphone era by giving you the smart technology. Now, you know what's interesting, brother? Other communities were getting it already. That's the problem. These guys are saying it should not be just in one part of the city. We have to go into other parts of the city, and that's what we're doing today. I get it, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to make sure that everyone gets it now. We increase our investments in Future Ready NYC to $19 million. And this investment will continue to expand. One of the most exciting things we're doing, you know, former computer programmer, COBOL, Fortran, assembly. I know what receiving that tech base means as you move forward. I think that my computer program is really what's making me such a good mayor, you know. Michael, make sure you get that. Get off your phone. Stay with me. So now, here's the partnership with Google. Google will provide learning opportunities that are stepping stones to careers in technology, including project-based learning, and paid dinero, moolah, money, greenbacks, all of that good stuff, paid work-based learning opportunities. They will provide teacher training. As the chancellor said in the beginning, both chancellors stated, we're asking our teachers to prepare our children for technologies of tomorrow. No one prepared the teachers to learn the technology they teach you. You can't continue to have the gym teacher double as the tech teacher. And so this relationship is now going to give the teachers the skills and tools they need so they can be prepared to teach our children for tomorrow. Google will make a significant financial contribution to support both the DOE and CUNY. Google will also work closely with CUNY to expand tech-focused career awareness in their Tech Equity Initiative. It will increase the number of paid internships and engage with CUNY students. This partnership presents a win for our young people, a win for our communities, a win for our city, and a win for innovation. It also marks a continued commitment to develop talent and expand our workforce in partnership with emerging industries, DOE, and CUNY. Today, we released the Pathways to an Inclusive Economy Blueprint based on the Future of Workers Task Force recommendations, something that Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer spearheaded. And so, again, I want to just really thank both our chancellors for coming together. They shared with me when we were walking up the steps. They meet quarterly and engage in a conversation. They have dismantled the wall that prevented us from having all the seas of opportunity flow into the river of prosperity for our entire city, particularly our young people who have been ignored so long. And this is just really one of the most exciting announcements I am doing as mayor, and I cannot thank them enough. And Floyd, if I can I just introduce my brother, Chancellor David Banks.
Good morning, everyone. So, first of all, I want to thank Google for hosting us here today, but I particularly want to thank the mayor for his vision in ensuring that ultimately we would in fact get here today. Because long before he became mayor, and many of you know, the mayor and I have known each other for many, many years, he talked about this. And how do you connect the school system to industry, to things that really matter? And I think that's a big part of the reason why you've heard our theme is bright starts and bold futures. And I said all the time, bright starts and bold futures. So when you heard us recently make our announcement about NYC Reads and ensuring that all of our kids will be able to read by the 3rd grade, that's the bright starts. The screening for dyslexia and ensuring that we can mitigate for all those kinds of issues, that's the bright starts. If we can make sure we unlock that potential and put our kids on the right path, that's the bright starts. And we are fully committed to that. We've made major investments in making sure that that happens. But then ultimately, there's the bold futures. And that really comes from this question of, why do we send our kids to school in the first place? Like, what do we want them ultimately to know and to be able to do? And far too many schools all across America are engaged in a process that we call schooling, which is very different than educating. Schooling just talks about the daily routine of going to school. And, did we bump up the math scores by 2 points or the ELA scores by a point or two? We're asking the wrong questions. Because ultimately, that's not what it's about. It's about unlocking the promise and the potential of every single child who understands the promise of possibility at the end of this school run. So if you're a parent, you give me your child at pre-K, and we take them all the way through the 12th grade, at the end of that entire journey, what should we expect? We expect to have young people who are on fire for learning and for opportunities. And a place like Google represents the ultimate in innovation and possibility. And that's what we want for all of our kids. That's what Future Ready really, in fact, represents. Building a better future for young people through meaningful career preparedness is, in fact, the North Star for this administration. So today we continue on that journey with the help of some key partners in this room. A special thank you to Google not only for hosting us today, but standing alongside us as our tech anchor partner as we do this vital work of building equitable pipelines to the tech industry for all of our young people. And you're going to hear from Faith in just a moment on her experience in this process. And it's not over. She's in the 11th grade, and she's heading into the 12th grade. You're going to hear about what those possibilities look like. And the exposure for a young lady in the heart of Brownsville, who many of whom could never imagine what it means to be in a place like this. That's what we're trying to do. That's what this represents. I think about the music industry, and we're celebrating 50th year of hip-hop. And what black and brown folks brought to the music industry through hip-hop transformed the world. Similarly, I think about these brilliant black and brown children all across New York City, all across America. If given the support and given the opportunity, what they will do for the tech industry, they will bring a level of innovation that the tech industry has not even seen and put their imprimatur on it. But somebody has to open the doors to give them those opportunities. That's what Google is doing here today. So this is a major mayoral initiative for us. In our first year, we had 34 schools which implemented Future Ready, and we had an additional 33 of those schools that were planning for their implementation year, which will start this year. And we've added, how many more have we added for this coming year? 35 more. So we'll be at 100 schools for this year, and that will continue to grow. So the thousands of students who are going to get a great opportunity for paid work-based learning opportunities, early college credits, thank you, Philo, one-to-one career advising to create strong post-secondary plans. This is a newsflash. Every student that goes through Future Ready is not going to be coming to work at Google. But it's about opening up their minds and creating possibilities, giving them a chance to get credentials that will allow them to have lots of other opportunities. So all these strides have been made within the last year. We're really just getting started. I'm energized by the opportunity that students get with this initiative to couple their classroom studies with real-world work applications. Far too many kids go to school every day, and they ask the fundamental question, why are we doing this? Many of us asked the same thing when we were coming up. And all too often, we did not get good answers. Because many of our educators don't know why we are doing what we're doing on a given day. They don't ultimately know where it leads. Because many of our educators themselves have never been inside the four walls of a place like Google. And yet we have given them the responsibility of preparing the students in their classes for these emerging industries of which many of our educators have no idea what it even looks like. That's why the mayor said the classroom from 100 years ago looks essentially the same as it does today, except there's a smartboard in front of the room. We can and we must do better. That's what Future Ready is really all about. So I want to thank the Chancellor, Rodriguez, we affectionately know him as Philo, for partnering with us in this. And I want to thank the mayor for insisting that these partnerships happen. And the mayor has said this from the very beginning. We will not solve the problems that New York City faces by working in silos. It's the reason why I meet with the commissioner, police commissioner, every week. We meet with different agency heads, DYCD, regularly. Because if you do this work on your own, there's some things that you can do, but you will never be as successful as you can be if you're working together and we align that work. That's what this mayor has represented for me, the power of what we could do and the success that we could achieve, but it will only be achieved by working together. And so, Faith, you're getting ready to come up. I want to thank you for getting ready to speak on behalf of all the students who are part of this Future Ready. And I already told you, don't be nervous. Take a deep breath, and you're going to be just fine. But I also want to shout out Principal Prendergast. Thank you so much for what you're doing and helping to support all of these young people at your schools. And you're here today representing all the dozens of principals around the city who are fully engaged in this process. And we're going to together get ready to do some amazing things. I want to shout out to all the educators. I want to say thank you to all the employer partners. Kathy Wild, I see you there. I don't know why nobody got a seat for Kathy Wild. She should not be standing up this whole time in the back. All right? But Kathy, thank you. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for helping us. You've been with us from day one. You really have. And we so appreciate you and your leadership. We don't get to all these industries and all these partnerships without your help and your support. We just really want to say thank you for that. And then those from the philanthropic community, from Bloomberg and Robin Hood and Tiger, thank you to all of them. And we're inviting the greater philanthropic community to partner with us on this. This is a place that is worth making a significant investment. It's a place of innovation. It's a place of possibility. And it's a place where the faiths of the world can see their dreams really come true. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Chancellor Banks. As both the mayor and Chancellor Banks mentioned, this is a historic partnership that could not be realized without one critical element, the City University for New York. So allow me to introduce to you the Chancellor. We have two Chancellors today, so we're very lucky. Chancellor Rodriguez, who I also have the pleasure of calling Fellow. We mentioned downstairs while we were preparing to come up that we had actually met a number of years ago when he was the president of Queens College, and I'll allow him to tell you why we met.
Thank you so much. Thank you, William, for that great introduction, and good morning, buenos dias. I guess if you want to differentiate, he's the chancellor, yo soy el chancellor, right? And that will make life a little bit easier. Thank you, Mayor Adams, for your great support and for being such a great example to all our students, being a proud twice CUNY graduate, and thank you for your incredible support. And as Chancellor Banks said, also for setting a high bar for our work and making us be intentional about our work and stay focused on the work and the success that we need to have for all our students. Thanks to Google for hosting us and for being such an incredible partner in this journey. Chancellor Banks, get a shout out to Kathy Wild. I mean, we wouldn't be able, this announcement is about partnerships, about intentionality, about the right track and the right path and trajectory for our students. Without the employer partners, that would be incredibly difficult. So thank you, Kathy. We also have Kirsten Barnett from the CEO Jobs Council. I want to give her a shout out because that's another key partner for both us at CUNY and also for the New York City Public Schools in this kind of innovative work, engaging employers from very early on. And nothing good happens in large institutions like CUNY without an amazing team, and I'm really blessed to have a couple of great colleagues who are joining me here today. Lauren Anderson, who is our Associate Provost for everything dealing with careers, and because we do believe in that K-16 pipeline that the mayor mentioned, we have an entire division. Andrea Sunehan is the director of our K-16 initiative, which is working with all this early college, College Now, all those programs that connect the work that the New York City Public Schools are doing in a seamless pathway with our work at CUNY. We are excited about this partnership. We're excited also about this new venture that we're doing with the support of Google, of Tech Equity, which builds on programs that we've been working on before. I am really proud that in the last 5 years, CUNY has doubled the number of tech BA degrees that we have awarded. Yeah. We have deeply increased the job connection and the internship participation, increasing the number of internships, particularly paid internships and apprenticeships that we're developing in our programs. We also double the number of women who major in computer science, thanks to the partnership of Breakthrough Tech. Right? And based on what we learned in that program, we decided to reach out to Google for this tech equity program to then be able to do that, to have even more women, but also have our Black and Latino students be getting computer science majors and tech-related majors in larger numbers. That is about early exposure that both the mayor and Chancellor Banks mentioned, that you envision yourself even before you set up to come to a CUNY campus, that you've been thinking about that. And remember, 80% of all those students from New York City Public Schools are going to be coming our way, right? They are our students already, right? So I want them envisioning those possibilities early on. And so when they come to the campus, they're ready to take advantage of paid internships, of all the programs that we have. So that's part of this Tech Equity Initiative. The other thing that we have to do is that we also have to teach a little bit differently. We all know that there in this teaching, particularly in the sciences and computer science, a lot of built-in biases, right? That at times send messages to women and individuals who've been underrepresented that maybe you don't belong here. They act more as screeners that as doors that are wide open to be able to bring in talent. We want to change that mindset. Working with our faculty, changing the curriculum, and that is one reason why the partnership with industry is key. We need to be bringing the experts, right, who are out in the field with the things that are changing every day to bring that into our curriculum so that it continues to be a cycle of innovation and opportunity. And when you do that, organically things begin to occur. When you have, and we've been through 2X CUNY, we've been bringing a number of experts from many, many fields to come teach in our campuses. Right? They teach part-time, they teach a class, or they teach 2 classes, but when they do that, the students have somebody in front of them who can talk about what's happening in the classroom. The opportunities for internships, for jobs, become organic because you have an email or a text to send to someone, and they already know where the talent is on the campus, so they connect organically with their recruiters back in all their companies. They're talking to the faculty about revising curriculum and new opportunities that emerge. So those are virtuous cycles that we need to encourage every day, right? And we are committed to doing that in tech. We're also doing it in other sectors that are of need in the community, in finance, in business, in other areas. We're doing that work too. But we want to double down because we know the demand is there. We also know that the industry is demanding a workforce that looks more like New Yorkers, right? And the tech sector is very, very challenged in that perspective, right? So this is something that goes to the root of that problem because you are not going to be able to change the composition of any workforce, but much less a tech workforce in New York City, unless you have intentional efforts that combine the New York City Public Schools and CUNY. I mean, that is where the diverse talent that comes from our communities like Faith is, and we need to tap it early and engage it early. Those of you who have suffered through being with me know that I want to go down as the patron saint of paid internships for all the CUNY students, all right? Why? Because I know what that paid internships, we have the data that it shows students who participate in that, they graduate faster, they have that why. They have a sense as to why they're doing all the things that they're doing. They can see the finish line. They can see what's happening after. They make money, right? Two key reasons why students drop out of college. The first one is financial. If you're in a paid internship and you're making a couple of $1,000s a year, if you're on financial aid, that's your money for transportation, for food insecurity, for some of the other things that we know affect our students, right? If you're paying out of pocket, that's part of the money that helps your tuition. And we are so affordable that a paid internship that gives you a couple of $1,000s a semester, when you add it for the year, can actually pay for the entire year of somebody in a community college or a 4-year degree, right? So you're getting a bit of financial aid plus the ROI of the social capital of the experience of the workplace. And this is what this announcement is all about. So we are committed. I'm excited for the future ready. One of the first sites that is going to expand is the work at Lehman College in the Bronx, going back to what the mayor said about being in communities that have been excluded from the benefits of tech hiring. And what we're doing is we are innovating, but we're using things that have worked. College Now, it's been a program for years in which many, many students take classes in the high schools that count for college credit. And the data shows that the students who participate in that come to college and graduate faster. What we're doing with the New York City Public Schools is being more intentional about that curriculum. We're already doing that. Let's do it in areas where there's demand. Let's be innovative. Let's inject work experience, apprenticeships to those things so the students come ready before they come to CUNY. So I am honored to be able to partner with a chancellor that cares so deeply about the faith of every student in the system. I am delighted that we get to work together. We meet quarterly with our teams to be able to push this agenda forward. I'm so grateful to our industry partners because I need to encourage you to even do more, to continue to do more. Just somebody asked me, if you wanted to give every CUNY student an internship, you can't. There's not enough in New York City. Right? Look at the data. Right? We need the employers to expand those opportunities. It's good business for you. Right? You save money in your talent recruitment cycle. Right? So we need those partners to continue to mentor, to hire, and thank you, Mayor, for setting the bar high, for creating the environment of collaboration, not just between CUNY and the New York City Public Schools, but also with the private sector. So, and Faith, right? I know you have big decisions to make, right? But should you want to come to a CUNY school, right? The doors are wide open. And if you don't, I just hope they give you damn good financial aid in the other place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chancellor. You know, a critical part of all of this, not only is it the curricula and the students, obviously, but it's also creating the connections between academia, your student life, and the employers. And creating those strong pathways is really the only way that we're going to create a robust talent pipeline for all New Yorkers. And to talk a little bit about that, we have Jade Grieve, the chief of, actually we're going to the center of the entire event today. Sorry about that, Jade. But we're going to actually hear from Faith Davenport, who we've been mentioning throughout the morning, to talk a little bit about her experience.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Faith Davenport. I'm an 11th grader at New York City Public High School for Youth and Community Development at Erasmus. And I'm here to tell you today about my Future Ready experience participating in a workplace challenge at Google. So the workplace challenge is a 6-week work-based program experience where my classmate and I, with the guidance of our teacher, worked with Google in groups to identify the digital literacy gap in our communities and broadcast solutions to fix it. And while doing that, we was tasked to help those find ways to start businesses and ways to encourage them to start businesses. So the Google staff and our teachers taught us strategies like using surveys, researching our competitors, and finding places where they fall short, direct interviews, and in a creative fashion, marketing. So my team and I created a mock-up company that directly funnels the proper information to those affected by the digital literacy gap across all generations. Life lessons that I keep seeing in everyday life, and especially in the Google Challenge, is that our voice matters. We were given a prompt that was not only relevant, but allowed us to have complete creative freedom. Every team from my school that presented had a unique presentation, but we all had the same core values of supporting those around us. So being given such a broad prompt was a wonderful thing to have. So it allowed many of us to play on one another's strengths and still submit work we were all satisfied with. The input we received from not only the staff at Google, but also our peers and our teachers influenced a lot of my problem-solving process now. It cemented the idea that if one person is struggling, then there's more people facing the same issue. So now I'm looking for solutions that would not only help one, but build a great foundation to help the next. The thought of working for Google never crossed my mind until I started being introduced to the Work-Based Challenge. And so even if I don't ever work for Google, they most definitely set high standards for the type of work environment and community I'm expecting from my future employer. The workplace learning experience was an eventful thing that happened to me. It taught me a valuable concept, and it helped me deepen the relationship between me and my teammates. And to those who have the opportunity to do anything similar, like a workplace challenge, I recommend that you do it. It gives you the first-hand perspective of what working is, and it can shape your standards and your career choices. My major takeaway is to just do it, especially if it's an idea that helps not only you, but so many other people. Do it, you know? Even if it takes a while to develop, no idea is a bad idea. And so I want to thank our Google partners, my teacher, Mr. Herskovics. He worked with us through the program. Mr. Hamilton, our career advisor, and Ms. P and her wonderful staff at Erasmus. My school. My school has not only given me these opportunities to make my dreams a reality, but they support me in every step that I take towards my goals. And our Google partners provided us with unconditional support throughout the project. Through this, you've all taught me valuable lessons and expectations I will hold on to and to share with others.
Really well done. Another round of applause. So thank you, everyone. So this concludes the formal portion of the program. I think we're going to move to Q&A. And with that, I think, I'm sorry? We're going to start with on-topic Q&A. Beautiful. That would be you.
How are you? Good, good.
How are you? I have two questions. I wanted to know what Google's financial contribution is going to be for this partnership. And then can you also talk more about the teacher training that Google will be providing as part of Future Ready NYC?
You want to take that?
Definitely can talk to you about the first part. Maybe Tequila, you can fill in on the second part about the teacher training. But our commitment to the overall program is $4 million. $2 million of that goes to CUNY, and I think a large part of that is for, at least in part, the Tech Equity Initiative, as well as some teacher training happening at the K-12 and also at higher ed. The other $2 million goes to David Banks.
Just to speak a little bit about the teacher training, this is Jay Grieve, who leads all of this work for us at
Yes.
Washington Public Schools.
Who I in error introduced early.
Well, you introduced me early, so that's perfect. Thank you. I was right on time. Thanks for the question. The other really exciting part is to your question about the teacher training. So teachers get the opportunity to come here to this building. I've seen some of this happen they're getting experience actually doing the credential themselves. So you heard a little bit about the program. Students get the chance to do early college credit. They're getting work experience. There's a chance to get industry relevant credentials. With Google, that's the Grow with Google Data Analytics certification. And teachers are getting the chance to get training on that. They're hearing from Googlers here about the industry, about the different kinds of jobs, all the things that we heard from both the Mayor and the Chancellor. So that's a really important part of the program and the partnership.
Bernadette.
So how does the 19 million get distributed across the 100 schools, and is it going to be equally distributed? And then also with the teacher trainings, how does that work? Can teachers apply? Will there be a cap? How many will be eligible?
Thank you. So the 19 million that the Mayor referenced is funding going directly to schools to support the implementation of the program. Schools are either fully implementing, so things are happening across the 9th to the 12th grade, or they're implementing it, what we call first year implementation, so they're getting started with the 9th and the 10th grade. And so the money is, the funding that schools are getting is differentiated based on their kind of implementation, how many classes they're offering, so how many students. So it is differentiated. It's between kind of 160,000, I think, to 470. So it depends on what they're offering. And sorry, the second question?
On the teacher trainings, is there a cap on how many teachers can, I suppose, go through the trainings and how many will be eligible?
So there's two parts of the training that's happening for teachers. One, we're running training through our office and with other partners for all teachers that are participating in the program. And so we'll actually get started with some training over summer. And then there are, for schools that are partnering with different business partners like Google, that will be relevant to the size of the school and the teachers that are implementing the program.
So there's no set number as of now?
No, not for that thing.
So this is a question for both the Chancellor and the Mayor. I know, Chancellor, when you were talking, you talked about your Bright Starts program and how you want to continue to go through Bright Starts to this program that you're launching today. But there was a disturbing report today that the reading and math scores of 13-year-olds in the country have fallen to the largest level in decades. And I'm wondering how that affects New York City school students and how that would affect them in terms of this program being ready to do this kind of a program, given the fact that there's been so many challenges in math and reading that predate, by the way, the pandemic.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let the Chancellor respond. The pandemic aggravated the problem that we were seeing, and that's why these partnerships are important. Historically, we have not went to our industry leaders outside of the bubble of the educational systems. We have not asked our industry leaders, how can you help us analyze what is happening to keep our children around education, around technology? That is the wall that we need to dismantle, because the answers don't stay in the fishbowl. And so what the Chancellor has been doing with his team, acknowledging what has happened previously, reaching out to those cities who have figured out how to deal with some of the learning loss, and saying, what are you doing? But it's a combination. We all have to be part of solving this problem of decrease in math, reading, and other areas. Let me let the Chancellor respond, and then you could follow up on what you wanted to ask.
Yeah, just to say, you're referring to the NAEP scores, which are kind of these national scores. It is not surprising at all that these scores continue to drop. But the scores have been bad for a long time. And I believe they're fundamentally connected to the fact of where our reading history has been. We have not taught our kids to read. You have to understand that connection. If kids don't learn to read well by the 3rd grade, it connects to everything else. So all these reports that come out are they're just reaffirming what we could have already predicted. If I don't teach you to read by the 3rd grade and I give you another reading exam in the 5th grade and the 8th grade, guess what? The scores are not going to be good. You know, that's not a news flash. Well, that's the reason why we have made such a significant investment in NYC Reads. Our big bet that we're placing is that together with the work that we're doing with dyslexia and the greater approach to the renewed way of teaching kids how to read and how to read well, we will see over time. You won't see it overnight, But over time is when we will begin to see all of these scores and these reports begin to shift and to change. Now, the NYC Reads work is very focused on kind of closing the gap at the earliest grades. But we are still doing other work as well for our older students. We're playing significant catch-up here. And we're working hand in hand with the UFT as well as the CSA. One thing I have learned is that it's not that our teachers don't care, because I think there's been a public narrative almost as though the teachers are just lazy and they don't care. That is not what I have witnessed. I think they were given a flawed playbook. We're giving them a new playbook, and we think over time is when you'll begin to see an increase in all of these scores. The NAEP is just one of many kinds of reports that are going to be coming out, standardized exams.
The reason I wanted to ask the question is that I know that when students graduate from New York City schools and go on to some of the community colleges and community colleges, many times they're forced to take remedial reading and math courses because they're not ready.
That's right.
So the question is, what can you do to make them ready so that they can fully participate in these kinds of programs that you want all the businesses in New York City to begin offering, especially if they have this reading deficit, this math deficit, that you seem to think is not, it predates the pandemic.
Sure.
So what should we be doing?
Yeah. No, we're working very closely. We have a team that is fully focused on this work now. So the first thing was we were focusing on how do you close this gap from the very beginning. That's why you get to solve this at the earliest ages. But we also now have a new body of work focused on our older students as well. So you'll be hearing more about that, but there are a number of steps that are being taken. But we really spent the bulk of our time focusing on how to close the dam in the beginning. Of course I'm troubled. Yeah, that's the reason why we're doing all of this work. And it's not just the NAEP scores. There are other scores as well which trouble us, which is part of the reason why we're doing all of this work.
And you know, I don't think we could underemphasize what the chancellor has been stating. The first way to fix this problem is to acknowledge we have a problem. We have denied this problem for so long, and I personally believe the denial of the problem is because who's greatly impacted. All of our children are hurting, but black and brown children are disproportionately impacted by this. And I just fail to believe if the outcome that black and brown children are receiving across the country was similar across all ethnic backgrounds, we wouldn't have a national emergency. I just think that people think black and brown children are dispensable. And if we saw in Rikers Island 40% of the children being dyslexic, and I think the demographics were different, we would see a national call for action. And I just refuse to ignore the fact that far too many people have a low expectation for inner city youth. I have a high expectation. And we need a plan that is going to deal with those who are coming in the system, those who are in the system currently, and those who have been failed by the system. Because I need to tell those students who have been failed by the system, that's a bend in the road. It's not the end of the road, because your mayor took remedial classes in New York City College of Technology. He took a remedial math. He took a remedial reading. And if I can go from that remedial level to become the mayor, then all of those children can at the same time. We need to reinstill hope in people who have been betrayed by the system. That's the problem. How are you?
How are schools selected to participate, and how are the students selected?
Yes. Why don't you just hang up with me with your Brooklyn accent?
I've once been told it was a Staten Island accent, actually. So schools have been selected through a competitive application process that we ran earlier this year. We're going into our second year next school year. We've had a tremendous amount of interest from schools. So we've had the good problem of having to select amongst more applications than we had places. But we've been selecting against things like readiness, kind of alignment to the program, and commitment to equity, all of the things that you've heard from the Mayor and Chancellor.
And that the principal prepares that?
Yeah, so the principal, we have one here who can talk to that too later if you like. And also school teams. This is really about like corralling the resources across a school to support students in these kinds of programs. So we're looking for schools to tell us about how they'll implement the program, what supports they need, and what leadership team they're going to organise across their school too.
How are you? Go ahead. I like that creativity, working in groups, thinking differently. I like that. Since we're in Google, we're into that here, But go ahead.
I was thinking about whether programs like this could be integrated into Summer Rising.
Yes.
There are reports that there are not enough slots, that there's huge demand for that program. What do you think, what is your response going to be to that? Can the city add more slots? Can the city integrate a program like this into the summer as well?
Yes, and kudos to the chancellor. It's the fact that we filled up so rapidly. I remember on the campaign trail, I believe in school all year round. I don't know why we still on this calendar with 2 months off. No one is picking grain anymore. It's time to think about a continuous education. It doesn't have to be in the classroom, but the educational process should take place all year round. In communities of opportunities, they do that. They have very structured environment for their children. They know where they're going. We tell our children at the end of the school year, go figure it out. That's what Summer Rising was about. Placing our children in structured environments so you don't have what's called the learning loss at the end of the school year, that they now have to catch up to where they are. And so we're looking to expand this. That is our goal. We need philanthropic interests to help us here. We've made some great partnerships with Kathy and others. This is the time for all of our industries that are asking for the talent to be able to fill the jobs, to be part of building out the pipeline. We would love to see this expand into Summer Rising. What the Chancellor is doing in the Brooklyn STEAM Center, something I started when I was borough president. We want to expand that. Certifications, licenses. There's so much these young people can do without going to college and being able to have a good job after they do so. And so, yes, we would like to see the expansion of it. We're going to need help. That's what it comes down to.
Google has the Tech Equity program that we're partnering with Google actually has a pre-enrollment program, particularly for students, so that before they even start their first year and the pilot will be a BMCC, they get some of that exposure too. So consistent with what the mayor said.
Many of you missed that handoff of the mic. I feel like the Black Phil Donahue,
Well, we're very engaged in some of these other remedial efforts and catching up with our older learners, if you will, who are already behind. So that work is absolutely going on. But that's not a prerequisite for participating in this program. We're not giving them a specific reading test to say, do you reach a certain cutoff? Otherwise, you don't get a chance to participate here with Google or any of our other industry partners. And in fact, it is the connection to some of these new opportunities that are the kinds of things that excite and ignite kids on to higher levels of academic performance when they get a chance to come here and see how their schoolwork is actually relevant and connects to the real world. Because when you come to a place like Google, they don't sit in rows. There's no teacher standing at the front giving a lecture. They are given a problem, and they have to work collaboratively with a team in terms of solving problems. And it connects math and science and research and technology. And that is how we ultimately want to reinvent our entire school system, so that it is fully preparing kids for the real world. So there are a lot of steps that we have to take, and we're on that trajectory.
And to the point that the chancellor is raising, our school system is not in alignment in what the real world is. We're looking for people who can communicate, work in group, critical thinking. How do you sit in emotional intelligence? How are you a deep listener so you can seek to understand, so you can be understood? Those skills, when I speak with my employers, they're stating that by the time these children and young people come to us to fill out the jobs and fill those jobs, those skills are missing. So if all we're teaching is this robotic thinking of sitting in rows, waiting to raise your hand, and that is just not what the work environment is like anymore. So we have to redefine this Alexander Graham Bell system into a smartphone system. And I said, these are bold steps, and I know it's difficult for people to really comprehend. We've only been here for 18 months. You know, we got work to do. You know, we inherited a mess, and we got to try to fix it in our 18th month. And in 18 months, we're doing a damn good job in moving us on the right pathway of where we need to go. What's going on, Michael? Thank you.
So, you know, Chancellor Banks is talking about reinventing the way the school system works in teaching. And this corporate partnership seems that's a parcel of it. Can you talk about some other corporate partnerships that are in the works or are already existing, and how they kind of work maybe consistently or differently from this one to kind of work towards that reinvention?
Sure. And why don't you, Jay, because, yeah. You know, Jade, with her Staten Island accent, we actually recruited her from Bloomberg, where she was working, and she's traveled all around the world and looking at how various governments and school systems connect the dots between school and the world of work. And so there are a number of partners that we've already engaged with. Jay, why don't you just talk a little bit about some of whom we're already working with?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chancellor. So we do. We have a number of partnerships with employers across the city that are supporting programs like this. Last August, we announced a big new youth apprenticeship program with the New York CEO Jobs Council and many of their members, like JP Morgan, EY, Accenture, who were providing career readiness and apprenticeship programs and opportunities for students in our schools. And then we have other partners who are doing who are kind of doing what Google's doing, but in different industries. So another industry of future ready that we're focused on, because there's lots of good job opportunities and lots of different pathways for students to get into them, is in healthcare. And so Northwell Health is an anchor partner for us in the healthcare system, and they've been a really important partner to us. Also, Pfizer have been supporting other programs, including Summer Rising. So we have other partnerships, but as the Mayor and Chancellor have said, we're looking for more. We want to keep expanding those partnerships, but we do have some strong partnerships to keep growing from.
And the welcoming was not there previously. You know, from day one when I sat in the office and sat down with Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Kathy Weil, you know, they just didn't feel welcome. And we were intentional about day one saying, we need you, we're in this together. We have to get our employees ready, and how do we do that? And there's just a whole new energy between our corporate entities and government. We are ready for government to be a partner with us. Okay, why don't we do some off topics? All right, thank you all. All right, Faye. We're gonna do a few off topics, few. FEW.
Mayor Adams, I wanted to know if I could get your thoughts on ranked choice voting as we're seeing early voting begin in the primaries. Would you encourage New Yorkers to rank multiple choices when they're at the voting booth?
I think the system is in place. It's the law of the land, and I think voters should determine if they want to rank or if they don't want to rank. It's up to the voters. That's one of the most democratic aspects of our lives. When you go inside that polling place, that's the relationship with you and how you choose to do so. So for me to tell people to rank if you don't think other people are worthy of your ranking, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Whatever way they want to vote, if they see 5 people that fit and rank them, I'm all good with that. They only see 1, I'm all good with that. I really don't see any role that when I run why anyone should do more than 1, you know, because I think I'm a good choice. You know, I think I said that was a private relationship.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, do you have a timetable for selecting the next police commissioner, and would you be looking outside the department?
No, we're going to make sure we do the transition as quickly as possible. We want to continue our success around public safety. That's the prerequisite to prosperity. And as soon as the notification is ready, we would do so. But right now, I have a police commissioner, one that I like, and until she's out the door and go on with what her career is going to be, she's still running the department, and we're still communicating about the incidents that we're facing. Good arrest she made yesterday, by the way. We make the notification when it's time to make it.
We're expecting some pushback in that the council is having a hearing today on the migrant situation, on the, you know, what your administration is pushed for in the court to change the right to shelter, to alter that. You know, for people who've kind of criticized that move, what would you say is your rationale for it? How would you defend it to them? You know, they're saying that this is kind of a rash move on your part.
Well, I don't think that people who, as you say, criticize what we do, what we're doing, is really rooted in reality. You know, we're dealing with the crises. Over 70,000 people are in our city seeking the American dream. And you know what I said before, my beginning point is to ask, have you been to Washington? And I would love to do an analysis of how many of our council members that are saying what we're doing is right or wrong, how many of our council members that are saying don't bring a HERC or shelter here, that are saying we need to do X, Y, and Z. Did they go to Washington? This problem is a Washington problem that has been dropped in the lap of New York City residents. It is unfair to New York City residents who happen to be their residents. And so as they do this, you know, this analysis of what we did that's unlike any other municipality, no one's families are not sleeping on the streets. We are providing education to children, food, cleaning clothing, mental health care. No other municipality is doing what we're doing. So as they do an analysis of it, they should start with the first question: did you go to Washington to advocate on behalf of your constituents? And I would venture to say 90% of them did not. 90% of them did. The number one issue facing our city and the individuals who are responsible for it lies in Washington, D.C., and I bet you 90% of them did not go to Washington. Think about that number. I said I'm making a guess. I don't know the exact science, you know. Some citywide leaders never went to Washington. Marsha.
So, during your on-topic questions, I asked you about the drop in reading scores for 13-year-olds nationally, and you said that you thought that the education system had betrayed children of color, black and brown students. And my question to you is, do you think that New York City also betrayed black and brown students in a way
Okay, I said children in general, specifically black and brown. Children in general, what we've done to children across the country, I think is a betrayal. But specifically, when I sit down in my moments of reading and I zero in across the country where inner city youth are, we're getting the same results. That can't be an accident. That can't, a light bulb needs to go off in our heads. Why are we looking across the country in inner cities that black and brown children are failing? To me, that's a betrayal. To me, why didn't we have a national call to address this issue year after year after year after year? And then, Marsha, then you do the parallel. This is what really, when I started campaigning, I started to look at. When I was sitting down speaking to gang members, and when I shared with them I was dyslexic, the number of them said, I have ADD, I have dyslexia. And then when you learn that 40% of the inmates in our jail system are dyslexic and other learning disabilities, and then you see that it's across the country, something is wrong. And we have to acknowledge the fact that, okay, here's a body of children of our country that are predominantly black and brown. And we see this happening to them year after year after year, yet we're spending major dollars on our educational system, and we're still getting the failing results. All the money we send, just about every municipality, their largest budget, one of their largest budgets, lies in the Department of Education. Yet we are spending the money, producing an inferior product, and we keep spending the money. Then who's eating off all that money we're spending if we get an inferior product that we're doing? And so I refuse to acknowledge that something is wrong. We betray black and brown children. If you don't educate, you will incarcerate. And that's who we are incarcerating.
Do you think that the change in the reading program that you and the chancellor have embarked on will make a significant difference in the reading scores going forward so that people who are, not all students in New York City will rise up?
That's our goal. We are going to try. We are going to try. Our goal is, as I stated, we need to look at the children who are coming in. That's why we're doing a dyslexia screening. We need to look at the children who are in. That's why we're changing the reading program. And we need to look at the children who have been betrayed. So I can't say that, okay, let's just start with the children who are coming in. No, I have to look at who's in the system and who is out of the system and the byproduct of that. That's why we want to just do dyslexia screening on Rikers Island. That's why we have Block Power to help justice involve young people. That's why we're doing what we're doing on probation. I have to look at the full spectrum of how the city educational system, it has betrayed and failed, just as it failed me. I had undiagnosed dyslexia until I got into college. So I went through the whole educational system thinking I was dumb. How many of the children are going through the whole system thinking they're dumb? That's the role that we have to play. Go ahead, Jeff, before we bounce. Well, first of all, I'll make determination if I'm going to endorse in another race. I think Inez is amazing. Harlem needed some adult leadership there with some real challenges that we are finding. I think the coordinated effort, in my belief, is that, listen, there's a body of people who were pleased with 30 years without having a mayor that looked like me. Listen, I upset a lot of people with my appointments, with my initiatives, with my challenges, and just, who I am. We can't pretend as though to some in this city, I don't fit the mold of what a mayor should be in the largest big city in America. And then they're shocked to see the results. AA bond rating by Fitch, bringing down crime. People didn't think I was going to do so. changing the dynamics of what government looks like. First woman commissioner, first woman fire commissioner, first African American to be first deputy mayor, first Korean to be in charge of small business services, first Latino to run the Department of Correction, first Indian American to be a deputy mayor, first Filipino American to be a deputy mayor. When you start to look at what I'm doing, there's some discomfort of people who thought that people that look like Deputy Mayor Mira Joshi did not have the intellect to be a deputy mayor. I'm a disruptor. And anytime you disrupt something, there are those who sit back and say, you know, this guy's messing with our stuff, you know? And then to make it so bad, people can say what they want. There are those in society that still long to see me stop saying Kute Kinte, and they want me to say Toby. And it's uncomfortable for them. So you can whip me as much as you want, but when you take off my shirt, you'll see the scars are already there. You know, I've gotten beaten enough that I can't be beaten again. I came into government saying Kute Kinte. I'm leaving government saying Kute Kinte. And if you don't know who he is, go see Roots.